Welcome to RuggedMade. I'm Jared. It's a beautiful late fall afternoon here in Massachusetts, and we're checking out the RS700 series log splitter. The things our customers tell us they like the most about the 700 series is its combination of power, speed, and ergonomics. It's built around a heavy-duty I-beam, which makes the 700 series a real workhorse of a machine. So the core features that are common to all the different models of the 700 series start with it being a push-through design. So in other words, you've got your push plate here, you drop your log here, you push it past the blade, and you don't need to touch the log again. You might want to do some resplits and get some smaller pieces, but basically each subsequent log is going to push the split log down the catcher tray off into whatever bin or conveyor you might have. So definitely makes for a more convenient experience. The catcher tray is mounted here, and that's a great way to avoid having to have logs drop on the ground and have to pick them up again. You might just want the pile to build up here, which is more out of the way than if it dropped right at the foot of the machine. But you could have a conveyor or a cart, or you could just be picking the logs right out of the tray, throwing them in the back of a truck, or putting them right into your drying stack from there. But it certainly saves a lot of bending over and picking up of split pieces. The blade is 10 3/4 inches tall and 1 inch thick, which makes for nice clean cuts through even some of that stringier, knottier wood. And it does come standard with a slip-on 4-way. So that's going to be great for your more medium-sized, straighter grain seasoned wood. You can just slip that right off when you want to break up some of the bigger pieces that have a lot of knots, or you're splitting it before it's really dried. And there's also now an available 6-way, so be sure to check out our 6-way blade video. The hydraulic log lift is really the heart of this beast. Heating with firewood is no less popular today than it's ever been, especially with surging fuel prices. But really, who wants to lift logs any more than they have to? And it doesn't matter whether you're 35 or you're 65. So the log lift is really a game changer. And it works whether you're lifting one big log or a few smaller logs. And the wide stance bipod leg adds that stability you need when you've got a load out there on the log lift. And one feature that anyone who's operated a log splitter is probably familiar with is the detent. So the valve detent will allow you to retract the rod all the way and take your hand off it, freeing you up to move another log into position and just saving a lot of time. We worked hard to incorporate a number of ergonomic features into the design of the 700 series, and it starts with a beam height of 29 inches. That puts logs right around the waist height of the average operator, and that's going to take a lot of stress off your back just as you're going through the process of splitting log after log. But then we went one step further. During the assembly process, you're going to have a lot of control over how your splitter is set up, and that starts with the valve platform. The platform can be dialed into 45 degrees this way, 45 degrees that way. It can go right down the center line of the machine, which can be great so that someone on either side of the machine can reach the controls. You can even have it pointed 90 degrees out this way. The log lift can also be mounted on either side. This is a pretty typical setup where we've got the log lift on the opposite side of the valves, and I'm probably going to have someone helping me load, or I can just walk around and load up the next batch of logs. But I could also mount the log lift on this side, and that would put the valves and the log lift on the same side, and that would be pretty typical for someone who's going to split a lot by themselves. They've got everything on one side. The tank also can be mounted in a few different spots. For example, this is now mounted as close to the log lift as possible, so there's not a lot of space between the tank and the log lift on that side. But if we push it back, it can go back up to a foot from what you see here, and that's going to create a lot of room to stand, which a number of machines that have log lifts really still don't allow you to do. And whichever side you're on, if you were to move the tank back a little bit, you've got lots of room to stand. There's no need to straddle the tank just to get at the valves or to get at the splitting area. As you move that tank farther back, there is a trade-off. You're going to have more weight up here on the tongue. It's going to be a little heavier to connect and disconnect it from a towing vehicle or to maneuver it around, but that really is up to you. And also, by being able to mount the log lift on either side and have the valve platform point to either side, it gives you that control over which hand you like to use to split. For some people, it's kind of a big deal. They want their right hand on the valves and their left hand manipulating the logs, or the other way around. Again, you get to tailor this to how you like to split during the assembly process. There are a few models to choose from within the 700 series. It comes down to your choice of engine and then the cylinder bore and stroke. The standard engine on the 700 series is a Raven 420, which is a 420cc, 15 horsepower engine. It's a nice, reliable, smooth starting and efficient engine, and it powers the 22 gallon per minute 2-stage gear pump without any issues. There's also the option of a Honda GX390. Due to supply chain shortages, it's been difficult to get our hands on those, so those might not be available at this time. And we've done some experimenting. As you might notice, this is a Briggs on this particular unit, which was an option up until a while ago. But the standard option is the Raven 420 or the Honda GX 390. The main difference between each model comes down to the cylinder, the bore, and the stroke. When making your selection, you really want to think about what kind of splitting you do, how much volume, and what kind of wood. In terms of power, we found that the 4.5-inch ID cylinder on the 728, which is rated for up to 28 tons, seems to have the power to do most jobs. In comparison, we offer the 300 series that has a 4-inch ID cylinder rated for up to 22 tons, and that seems to split almost everything our customers throw at it. So the 728 is going to handle most jobs. But if you feel the need for even more power, you can upgrade to the 737, which has a 5-inch ID cylinder and is rated for up to 37 tons. Both cylinders have oversized rods. On the 728, it's got a 3.25-inch OD rod, and on the 737, it's got a 3.5-inch OD rod. And what this does is it means you don't have to move as much fluid out of the rod side of the piston inside the cylinder, and that's really going to speed up the cycle time. And that just leaves the stroke. If you're splitting up to 24-inch logs, because maybe you're just heating your home with wood, maybe you're selling anything from 16-inch, 18-inch bundles up to 24-inch logs, then the 728-24 and the 737-24 are going to be perfect. But if you need to split up to 30-inch logs, because maybe you've got an outdoor furnace or you're processing maple syrup and you've got that big boiler, we do offer the 728-30 and the 737-30. Every 700 series comes standard with a stroke restrictor. This little device allows you to take advantage of that return detent on your cylinder and save you time. So this is a 24-inch stroke, so there's a position for the stroke restrictor at 20 inches. By installing it there, you can run the cylinder back using that detent and save time for those extra 4 inches that you don't need if you're splitting 16, 18, and 20-inch rounds. So the stroke restrictor goes in like that and is secured with wing nuts. And if you had a 30-inch cylinder, there'd be a position just like this at 20 inches, and there'd be another one at 24, really giving you that flexibility to split the length of log you want to split, but also getting to save time and get that hands-free benefit of the detent. And when not in use, the stroke restrictor has a storage spot right here under the valve platform. The 700 series packs down nicely at the end of a day of splitting. The log lift, the 4-way blade, and the catcher tray all stay attached to the machine when you pack it down into storage mode. If you want to throw a tarp over it or put it away in your shed, or if you want to hook it up to a vehicle and tow it to the next splitting site. It connects with a standard 2-inch ball, and it comes with the safety chains, and it can be towed at up to 40 miles an hour on its 20-inch tires. Whether you split a lot of wood every year to heat your home or you sell firewood, the 700 series by RuggedMade has the power, speed, and features to handle it. So visit us at RuggedMade.com for more information, and thanks for watching.